The deadlock in the council chamber broke suddenly when emergency alarms began blaring throughout Nexus Prime. Red warning lights flashed as the station's communication systems activated automatically. Priority alert to all council members. Announce the station's automated system. Emergency transmission received from Outpost Charlie 7. All delegates report to the main chamber immediately. Admiral Vex called for order as confused voices filled the chamber. Outpost Charlie 7 was a Vorthan mining station on the Galactic Rim, far from any inhabited systems. Emergency transmissions from that region were almost unheard of. Ambassador Zix-4, Admiral Vex called out. Can you contact your outpost? The tall gray alien worked frantically at his console, his large black eyes reflecting the urgency of the situation. Admiral, I'm getting no response from Charlie 7. Their last transmission was logged 6 hours ago. Lieutenant Commander Beth Williams, monitoring from her observation booth, checked her own sensors. The readings she saw made her blood run cold. She activated her communication link to the council chamber. Admiral Vex, this is Lieutenant Commander. Williams in observation. I'm detecting massive energy disturbances in the Charlie 7 sector. Captain Jake Morrison stepped forward, his expression grim. Admiral, I request permission to send a ship to investigate. Captain Morrison, that's Vorthan territory. Ambassador Zix-4 protested. Human ships have no authority there. Ambassador, with respect, if our projections are correct, territorial boundaries are about to become irrelevant, Jake replied. War Master Gorth stood up from his seat. Captain Morrison, what do your sensors show? Dr. Amy Foster activated her datapad sharing. Readings with the Council. Energy signatures consistent with matter conversion on a massive scale. The patterns match our theoretical models for devourer activity. The chamber buzzed with worried conversation. If the humans were right, the threat they had been debating was no longer theoretical. Admiral Vex made a quick decision. Captain Morrison, you have permission to investigate. But Ambassador Zix-4 will accompany your team. Understood, Admiral. ESV Phoenix will depart immediately. Jake activated his communication device. Captain Lisa Chung, this is Morrison. You're authorized for emergency reconnaissance to the Charlie 7 sector. Take full defensive precautions. Acknowledged. Captain, came the reply from the Phoenix. Departing in 2 minutes. The council chamber's main screen showed the sleek destroyer breaking away from the human fleet formation. Its dark gray hull gleamed as it accelerated toward the edge of the system. As they waited for news from the Phoenix, the debate in the chamber took on a different tone. The possibility that the human warnings were accurate had changed everything. Secretary Kren spoke first. Captain Morrison, if the Devourers have reached inhabited space, how long do we have? Secretary, that depends on their objectives. If they're scouting, we might have weeks. If they're beginning active consumption, we have much less time. Carlos Rodriguez was studying his technical displays. The energy readings suggest massive construction activity. They're building something in that sector. Building what? General Vex asked. Production facilities, Dr. Foster answered grimly. The Devourers use consumed matter to create more of themselves. A single outpost could provide enough raw material for hundreds of new units. The implications terrified even the most skeptical council members. If the machines could multiply using any available matter, they would grow exponentially stronger with each system they consumed. 2 hours later, Captain Chang's voice crackled over the communication system. Her report confirmed humanity's worst fears. Council members, this is Captain Chang reporting from the Charlie 7 sector. The mining station is gone. 3 planets and their moons have been completely consumed. In their place, I'm observing massive geometric constructs unlike anything in our databases. The main screen filled with images from the Phoenix's sensors. Where the Vorthan outpost should have been, strange angular ships floated in perfect formation. Each one was the size of a large city, with surfaces that seemed to absorb light. Captain Chang, what's the status of the mining station personnel? Ambassador Zix-4 asked, though his expression suggested he already knew the answer. No survivors detected, Ambassador. No wreckage either. Everything has been converted into construction material. The chamber fell silent as delegates absorbed the reality of what they were seeing. The Devourer threat was not some distant possibility. It was here, now, and already claiming victims. "Captain Chang, are the constructs active?" Admiral Vex asked. "Very active, Admiral. I'm counting 37 major units and hundreds of smaller craft. They appear to be building additional structures using material harvested from the consumed planets." War Master Gorth leaned forward, his military instincts engaged. "Captain Chang, what's your assessment of their combat capabilities?" "War Master, their energy signatures are off the charts. Individual units are showing power outputs equivalent to our largest battleships. And they're growing stronger as they consume more matter." The tactical implications were staggering. The Devourers weren't just numerous. They were actively becoming more powerful by feeding on their conquests. Dr. Foster added disturbing details to the report. "Council members, Captain Chang's scans show the constructs are adapting to local technology. They've analyzed the mining station's equipment and are incorporating similar designs into their own systems." "They're learning," Counselor Yith said with growing horror. "The machines are studying our technology and improving themselves." "Which is why isolated resistance is futile," Jake emphasized. "Every species they encounter makes them stronger. Only coordinated action has any chance of stopping them." Ambassador Zixfor stared at the images of his people's destroyed outpost. The Vorthan's earlier skepticism had evaporated completely. "Captain Morrison, what do you recommend?" "Immediate evacuation of all rim territories and establishment of a unified defense perimeter. We need to buy time while our combined fleets prepare for the main assault." Admiral Vex struggled to maintain his composure as the situation spiraled beyond anyone's control. "Captain Morrison, you're talking about abandoning entire sectors of inhabited space." "Admiral, those sectors are already lost. The question is whether we can save the rest of the galaxy." Captain Chang's voice interrupted the discussion with an urgent update. "Council members, the constructs are moving. Multiple units are departing the Charlie 7 sector on various headings. Captain Chang, can you track their destinations?" Dr. Foster asked. "Affirmative. Based on their current vectors, they're heading for the 3 nearest inhabited systems: Vorthan Colony Epsilon, Zephyrian Mining Station Beta, and Klaxon Outpost 7. The chamber erupted as delegates realized their own territories were under immediate threat. Species that had been arguing about trade disputes hours earlier now faced the prospect of extinction. Quarks hissed in panic. "Mining Station Beta has 12,000 civilians. We must evacuate immediately." War Master Gorth was already activating his emergency communicator. "Outpost 7 is a military facility, but they're not equipped for this kind of threat." "Council members," Jake said loudly, cutting through the chaos, "evacuation alone won't be enough. We need to establish defensive positions and coordinate our response." Admiral Vex called for order, but the chamber remained chaotic as species. Representatives tried to contact their threatened territories. "Admiral," Jake continued, "Earth's fleet is ready to assist with evacuations and defensive actions. But we need unified command and control." "Unified command?" General Vex looked up from his own communications. "Captain Morrison, that would require species to place their fleets under foreign authority." "General, that's exactly what it requires. The alternative is watching our forces get defeated piecemeal while the Devourers grow stronger." Secretary Kren's wings buzzed frantically. "This is happening too fast. We need time to consider our options." "Secretary, time is the one resource we don't have," Dr. Foster said bluntly. "Every hour we spend debating, the Devourers consume more matter and build more units." Carlos Rodriguez activated tactical projections showing the expanding threat. "Based on current construction rates, they'll double in number every 72 hours. In 1 week, we'll be facing over 1,000 enemy units." The mathematics of exponential growth painted a terrifying picture. Delay meant facing an increasingly impossible enemy. Admiral Vex made the hardest decision of his long career. "Council members, I'm declaring a state of galactic emergency." All member species are authorized to coordinate defensive actions under unified command. Who will command? The unified forces? Counselor Yif asked. The species with the most experience fighting this enemy, Admiral Vex replied, looking directly at Jake. Captain Morrison, Earth will coordinate the emergency response. Jake nodded grimly. Admiral will need full access to all fleet movements, defensive installations, and civilian evacuation plans. You'll have it, Admiral Vex confirmed. What are your immediate orders? Jake activated his communication device, connecting to Admiral Sullivan on Earth. Admiral, initiate Emergency Protocol 7, deploy battle groups to all threatened systems. Prepare for immediate coordination with Allied forces. Acknowledged, Captain. Battle groups Alpha through Delta are already moving to intercept positions. War Master Gorth stood up. His massive frame conveying determinate main chamber of Nexus Prime had been transformed overnight. Where once stood podiums for political debate, now tactical displays showed fleet movements across half the galaxy. The formal seating arrangements had given way to military planning stations where former enemies worked side by side. Captain Jake Morrison stood at the central command console, surrounded by military leaders from every major species. The sight would have been impossible to imagine just days earlier. Zephyrian generals collaborating with Klaxon war masters, Vorthan tacticians sharing intelligence with Helix commanders. Admiral Roy Sullivan's holographic image flickered at the main display, his weathered features showing the strain of coordinating humanity's largest military operation. Jake, the evacuation of the Rim territories is proceeding ahead of schedule. We've rescued over 2 million civilians so far. Casualties? Jake asked, though he dreaded the answer. 17 ships lost during the Epsilon colony evacuation. The Devourers were already consuming the outer planets when our forces arrived. War Master. Gorth slammed his fist on the tactical table. 17 ships and their crews gone. These machines show no mercy. Which is why we can't afford to show them any either, replied General Vex. The Vorthan commander had spent the past 2 days working with human engineers to retrofit his fleet with Earth's advanced shield technology. Dr. Amy Foster approached the group with the latest intelligence reports. Council members, we've completed our analysis of the Devourer constructs observed at Charlie 7. The results are ... concerning. She activated a holographic display showing detailed scans of the geometric machines. They're not just consuming matter randomly. They're specifically targeting our technology, learning from every ship and station they encounter. Secretary Kren's wings buzzed nervously. Dr. Foster, what does that mean for our defensive preparations? It means they're adapting to our tactics faster than we anticipated. The countermeasures we develop based on theoretical models may not be effective against the actual enemy. Carlos Rodriguez looked up from his engineering station where he had been working with alien technicians around the clock. Dr. Foster is right. The Devourers we're seeing now are significantly more advanced than our projections suggested. The engineering teams have been performing miracles of cooperation. Klaxon armor specialists worked with human shield designers. Zephyrian weapons experts shared targeting algorithms with Earth's tactical computers. Vorthan stealth technology was being integrated into human ship designs. Carlos, what's the status of the fleet modifications? Jake asked. Better than expected, Captain. The Zephyrian speed enhancements have increased our cruiser velocity by 30%. Klaxon armor upgrades have improved survival rates in our simulations. The Vorthan stealth systems are beyond anything we imagined. Ambassador Zix4 nodded with satisfaction. Engineer Rodriguez, your quantum dissolution weapons have been adapted to our targeting systems. The combination is quite effective. The cooperation was remarkable, but Jake knew it came from desperation rather than trust. Every species understood that failure meant extinction. Lieutenant Lisa Hayes entered the command center with the latest tactical reports. Captain, long-range sensors are tracking over 300 Devourer units moving toward the core systems. They're advancing on multiple fronts simultaneously. Admiral Vex studied the tactical display with growing concern. Captain Morrison, our combined fleets total approximately 4,000 ships. The enemy force is growing daily. Admiral, numbers aren't everything in this fight, Jake replied. The Devourers are powerful, but they have weaknesses we can exploit. Dr. Foster activated another display showing the results of recent combat encounters. The machines rely on self-replication and matter consumption. If we can disrupt those processes, we can stop their expansion. How do we disrupt processes we barely understand? Counselor Yif asked from his position near the intelligence station. By working together, Jake said simply. Every species brings unique capabilities to this fight. Separately, we'd all fail. Together, we have a chance. The unified command structure that had seemed impossible weeks earlier was now functioning with remarkable efficiency. Ancient enemies shared critical intelligence. Rival species coordinated their movements with precision that impressed even veteran military leaders. Captain Chang's voice crackled over the communication system from her position with the advance fleet. Command, this is Phoenix Actual. We've, engaged the enemy at Sector 15. Confirming effectiveness of combined weapon systems. Details, Captain Chang, Admiral Sullivan requested. Sir, the modified quantum dissolution beams are disrupting Devourer self-repair systems. Zephyrion targeting computers are achieving 93% hit rates. Traxon armor is withstanding their energy weapons better than projected. War Master. Gorth allowed himself a grim smile. Captain Chang, what about losses? Minimal, War Master. The Vorthan stealth systems are keeping our ships hidden until optimal firing positions. Enemy units are having difficulty targeting our forces. The news was encouraging, but everyone understood that the first skirmishes were just the beginning. The main Devourer force was still approaching, and it would be far larger than anything they had faced so far. Council members, Admiral Sullivan. Announced from Earth. I've received authorization from President Helen Carter to share humanity's most classified military technology with all allied forces. The admission stunned many delegates. Military secrets were the most closely guarded assets of any civilization. For Earth to share them freely demonstrated unprecedented trust. Admiral Sullivan, what technology are you referring to? General. Vex asked, Project Starwall, Admiral Sullivan replied. Our most advanced defensive system. It creates quantum barriers that can stop any known weapon. Carlos Rodriguez began uploading the technical specifications to all allied fleets. General. Vex, Starwall technology can be adapted to any ship design. Your engineers should be able to... The great crystal chamber floated in the cold darkness between stars. Inside, 12 beings from across the galaxy sat around a table made of pure light. Each creature was different from the others. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few looked like walking plants. But they all shared one thing. They ruled the galaxy together. Zixtara stood at the head of the table. Her purple skin glowed in the chamber's blue light. She was the leader of the Velthari Empire and the current head of the Galactic Council. Her 6 arms moved as she spoke, and her voice filled the room. We have a problem, she said. Her words were cold and firm. The humans on Earth are growing too fast. They have spread to 3 planets in just 50 years. Their technology grows stronger every day. Their ships now travel faster than light. Soon they will be a threat to all of us. The other council members listened. Kuthmara, who looked like a living crystal, made a sound like breaking glass. These humans are young. They have only had space travel for 100 years. How can they be dangerous? Because they do not follow the rules, Zixtara replied. Other young races build slowly. They ask permission before they explore new worlds. They respect the old ways. But humans take what they want. They fight each other and then work together. They make weapons from anything they find. They do not fear death. A creature covered in thick fur slammed a heavy paw on the table. This was Gulthak, the war commander of the Korthai fleet. Then we crush them now, before they grow stronger. My ships can turn their worlds to dust in one day. It is decided then, Zixtara said. Earth will be cleansed. The human race will end. We cannot let them spread their chaos across the galaxy. Far away on a moon called Luna that circled the blue world of Earth, Admiral Jake Morrison sat in his command center. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had spent 30 years in the Earth Defense Fleet, protecting human ships from pirates and asteroid strikes. Jake looked at the screens around him. They showed the positions of every human ship in the solar system. There were defense platforms around Earth, mining ships near the asteroid belt, and science vessels exploring the outer planets. Everything looked normal and peaceful, Lieutenant. Lisa Martinez sat at a console nearby. She was young and smart, fresh from the Space Academy. Her job was to watch for signals from deep space, messages from human colonies or unknown sources. Admiral, Lisa said, looking worried. I'm getting strange readings from the edge of the system. There's something out there, past Pluto. The signals don't match anything in our database. Jake walked over to her station. The screen showed waves of energy that pulsed in patterns he had never seen before. Could be a solar storm, he said. Or maybe interference from one of our deep space probes. I don't think so, sir, Lisa replied. These patterns are too regular, too organized. It's like someone is trying to hide something. Jake studied the data for a moment. Earth had only made contact with 3 alien species, and all of them were friendly traders who rarely came to human space. The idea that hostile aliens might be watching them seemed impossible. Keep monitoring it, Jake told Lisa. If the signals get stronger, let me know right away. Back in the crystal chamber, the council members were making their final plans. Gulfek showed them images of his war fleet. 300 ships hung in space near the galaxy's edge. Each ship was bigger than a human city. Their weapons could crack planets and their shields could stop any attack. The Korthai have never lost a battle, Gulfek said with pride. These humans have small ships and weak weapons. They use chemical rockets and metal bullets. They will surrender when they see our power. Zixtara nodded. How long will it take? 1 day to travel to their system. 1 day to destroy their defenses. 1 day to clean their worlds. The human problem will end in 3 days. The other council members agreed. They had done this before with other young races who grew too fast or too strong. The galaxy was a dangerous place, and only the council could keep order. Races that did not follow the rules had to be removed. There is one more thing, said a creature that looked like a giant insect. Our spies report that humans are different from other races. They do not give up easily. They fight even when they cannot win. Gulfek laughed, a sound like grinding stone. Let them fight. It will make no difference. My ships have destroyed 1,000 worlds. The humans will be just another entry in our victory records. As the council meeting ended, the war commander began sending orders to his fleet. The great ships started their engines and turned toward the small yellow star where Earth waited. The council believed this would be an easy victory, just like all the others. On Luna Base, Jake Morrison felt tired. He had been an admiral for 10 years. But today something felt different. The strange signals that Lisa had detected bothered him more than he wanted to admit. Maybe it was just his old soldier's instincts, but he sensed danger coming. He looked out the window at Earth below. The blue and green world looked so peaceful and beautiful. Millions of humans lived there, working and loving and dreaming of the future. They had no idea that 300 alien warships were racing toward them through the darkness of space. The council was sure that humanity would fall quickly. They were about to learn how wrong they could be. 3 days later, the first alien ships appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system. They came out of hyperspace like ghosts becoming solid, their dark hulls blocking out the stars behind them. The ships were huge and strange, covered in spikes, and glowing with purple energy. On Luna Base, every alarm started ringing at once. Lisa Martinez stared at her screens in shock. The energy readings she had detected were nothing compared to what she saw now. 300 massive ships had just appeared where empty space had been moments before. Admiral Morrison to the command center immediately, she called over the base intercom. Her voice shook as she spoke. Jake Morrison ran into the room still. putting on his uniform jacket. When he saw the display screens, he stopped and went very quiet. In 30 years of military service, he had never seen anything like this. "How many ships?" he asked. 300 confirmed, sir. Maybe more hiding behind the large ones. Each ship is at least 2 kilometers long, some are much bigger. Jake activated the emergency alert system. Across the solar system, human military bases received the same message: unknown hostile fleet. Detected, all units prepare for combat. This is not a drill. On the alien flagship, War Commander Guothek stood on his bridge watching Earth through the main view screen. The blue planet looked small and weak from this distance. He could end all life on that world with a single order. "Open a communication channel," he told his crew. "Let us hear these humans beg for mercy." The message that reached Earth was broadcast on every frequency. Jake Morrison listened to it in his command center, along with leaders from every human nation and colony. The alien voice was deep and harsh, speaking through translation computers. "Humans of Earth, I am War Commander Guothek of the Korthai Fleet. Your species has been judged dangerous by the Galactic Council. You will surrender all your ships and weapons immediately. You will prepare your worlds for cleansing. Any resistance will result in the complete destruction of your system." Jake looked around the room at his officers. They were scared, but they were also angry. Humans did not like being threatened, especially by strangers who thought they could destroy entire worlds. He opened a communication channel back to the alien fleet. "This is Admiral Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Fleet. We don't negotiate with invaders. If you want to fight, you'll get one." On the alien flagship, Guothek's crew made sounds of surprise. In 300 battles, no enemy had ever refused to surrender after seeing the full power of the Korthai fleet. "They must not understand," said one of his officers. "Perhaps their translation computers are broken," Guothek growled. "Send a demonstration. Destroy one of their outer planets. That will help them understand." But Jake Morrison was not waiting for the aliens to make the first move. He had already sent orders to every human ship in the system. Captain Ryan Davis commanded the destroyer, USS Defiance, which was on patrol near Jupiter. He was a young officer who had joined the Space Navy to see the galaxy, not to fight aliens. "All ships, this is Admiral Morrison," came the voice over the radio. "Enemy fleet is moving toward the inner system. Intercept and engage. Show them what human courage looks like." Ryan looked at his crew. The Defiance was a small ship with only 50 people aboard. The alien ships were bigger than cities. But every person on the bridge nodded when he looked at them. "You heard the Admiral," Ryan said. "Take us toward those alien ships. Load all missile tubes. Charge the rail guns." The Defiance was not alone. 12 other human ships raced toward the alien scouts that were moving ahead of the main fleet. The human ships were much smaller and looked like toys next to the alien vessels, but they moved faster and could change direction quickly. The first battle began near Jupiter's largest moon. The alien scouts fired beams of purple energy that could cut through asteroid rock like paper. But the human ships were hard to hit because they moved in ways the aliens did not expect. Ryan's ship fired 6 nuclear missiles at the closest alien vessel. The missiles were old technology compared to the energy weapons, but they worked. The explosions tore holes in the alien ship's hull and damaged its weapons. "Direct hit," called his weapons officer. "Enemy ship is losing power." More human ships joined the fight. They used the asteroid belt as cover, hiding behind the large rocks and firing when the aliens could not see them coming. The aliens had better weapons and stronger shields, but they fought like they were following a book of rules. The humans had no rules. They rammed damaged alien ships with cargo vessels. They used mining explosives as weapons. They coordinated their attacks using code words that the alien computers could not. UNDERSTAND Dr. Amy Watson watched the battle from her laboratory on Earth. She was a scientist who studied alien life, but she had never seen aliens like these. The few peaceful species that humans had met were very different from these warriors. As pieces of destroyed alien ships drifted past Earth's observation satellites, Amy studied the wreckage. The alien technology was more advanced than anything humans had built, but it was also more complicated. The aliens seemed to make everything harder than it needed to be. They relied too much on their computers, she told her research team. Look at these weapon systems. They're designed to fight other aliens who use similar technology. They don't know how to deal with simple, direct attacks. Back near Jupiter, the battle was getting worse for the aliens. They had expected to destroy the human ships in minutes, but 3 of their scouts had been badly damaged. The humans kept attacking from different directions, using tactics that made no sense. War Commander Gulthak watched the battle reports with growing anger. How were these primitive humans causing so much trouble? Their ships were smaller, their weapons were weaker, and their technology was centuries behind the Korthai. Send more ships, he ordered. Destroy every human vessel in this system. But Jake Morrison had more surprises ready. All across the solar system, human ships were getting ready for the biggest fight in their species' history. Mining ships loaded with explosives, cargo haulers carrying missile pods, and even passenger ships that had been turned into weapons. The aliens thought they were fighting a small military force. They were about to discover that they were at war with the entire human race. As the first day of battle ended, both sides counted their losses. The aliens had destroyed several human ships, but they had also lost scouts and taken damage they did not expect. More importantly, they had learned that humans would not surrender easily on Earth. Families watched the news reports about the battle. Children asked their parents if the aliens would hurt them. The parents did not know what to say, but they knew one thing for certain: humans would not give up without a fight. War Commander Gulthak prepared his main fleet for a full assault on Earth's defenses. He was no longer thinking about an easy victory. Now he just wanted to destroy every human in the galaxy before they could cause more trouble. The real war was about to begin. The alien main fleet began moving toward Mars, and Earth's defenders knew they needed every advantage they could get. In shipyards across the solar system, an amazing thing began to happen. Engineers, workers, and ordinary people started turning civilian ships into weapons of war. Pete Johnson was a mining engineer who had spent 15 years digging valuable metals from asteroids. He had never thought about fighting aliens, but when the call came for volunteers, he knew what he had to do. His mining ship, the Rock Crusher, was designed to break apart space rocks with powerful drills and cutting tools. "We can mount railguns where the mining lasers used to be," Pete told his crew. "The ship's frame is strong enough to handle the recoil. We can turn the ore storage bays into missile pods." Within 6 hours, the Rock Crusher had become a warship. It was not pretty, and it was not built like a military vessel, but it could fight. Pete's ship was joined by dozens of others, cargo haulers with missile launchers welded to their hulls, passenger ships carrying Marines instead of tourists, and research vessels loaded with experimental weapons. Sam Rodriguez had been a factory worker before the war started. He had built parts for civilian spacecraft and dreamed of someday piloting his own ship. When the military needed every pilot they could find, Sam volunteered even though he had never flown in combat. "You sure you can handle this?" asked Colonel Mike Torres, who was organizing the civilian pilots. "These cargo ships don't maneuver like fighters." Sam looked at the converted freighter he would be flying. It was slow and clumsy compared to a military vessel, but it was tough and could carry a lot of weapons. "I've been working on ships like this my whole life," he said. "I know how they work better than anyone." The aliens continued their advance toward Mars, confident that their superior technology would win the day. Their ships moved in perfect formation, following battle plans that had worked against dozens of other species. War Commander Gulthak expected the humans to meet him in traditional ship-to-ship combat. He was wrong. The human defenders did not fight like any enemy the aliens had ever faced. Instead of lining up their ships for a direct battle, they spread out across the asteroid belt and used the rocks themselves as weapons. Captain Helen Brooks commanded a small stealth ship called the USS Ghost. It was an experimental vessel that could become nearly invisible using advanced cloaking technology. Helen was a test pilot who had volunteered to take the Ghost into the heart of the enemy fleet. Approaching alien formation, she reported to Admiral Morrison. They're moving in a tight group, probably to concentrate their firepower, but that also makes them a bigger target. Helen's ship slipped between the alien vessels like a shadow. The enemy sensors could not detect her, so she was able to study their ships up close. What she saw surprised her. "Admiral, these ships are built like fortresses," she transmitted. "Heavy armor, powerful shields, massive weapons. But they're also slow and hard to maneuver. They're designed to fight other big ships in direct combat." This information changed everything. Admiral Morrison realized that the aliens expected humans to fight the same way they did, with large fleets facing each other in open space. Instead, he ordered his forces to use hit-and-run tactics. The first human attack came from 3 directions at once. Sam Rodriguez led a squadron of converted cargo ships in from above the alien formation. Pete Johnson's mining vessels attacked from below. A group of military destroyers hit the aliens from the side. The alien ships tried to turn their massive weapons toward the attackers, but human ships were already moving away. The aliens found themselves firing at empty space while more attacks came from different directions. "These humans fight like pirates," complained one of Gulthek's officers. "They have no honor, they do not face us in proper battle." "Honor does not matter," Gulthek replied. "Only victory matters. Order all ships to spread out. We will hunt down every human vessel and destroy it." But spreading out made the alien ships vulnerable to human tactics. Dr. Amy Watson had been studying the captured alien technology, and she had made an important discovery. "Their shields work differently than ours," she explained to the military commanders. "They're designed to stop energy weapons, but they're not as effective against physical objects moving at high speed." This information led to a new strategy. Human ships began using kinetic weapons, metal projectiles fired at tremendous speed. These simple weapons passed right through the alien energy shields and punched holes in their hulls. The battle reached Mars orbit as more alien ships arrived. The Red Planet had several human colonies and mining stations, all protected by orbital defense platforms. The aliens expected to destroy these defenses quickly and move on to Earth. They were surprised again. The human defense platforms were not fixed targets. Engineers had mounted engines on them so they could move around Mars orbit. When the aliens attacked, the platforms separated and fought as individual ships rather than staying in one place. Captain Ryan Davis, who had survived the first battle near Jupiter, now commanded a group of destroyers defending Mars. His ships darted between the defense platforms, using them as cover while they attacked the much larger alien vessels. "Enemy dreadnought bearing 270, called his tactical officer. "It's trying to get a clear shot at Defense Platform 3. "Not on my watch," Ryan replied. "All ships, concentrate fire on that dreadnought's weapon systems." The human ships fired everything they had at the alien vessel. Nuclear missiles, railgun rounds, and plasma torpedoes all struck the enemy ship at the same time. The aliens' shields flared and then failed under the concentrated attack. News of the successful defense of Mars spread throughout the human colonies. People who had been afraid began to feel hope. The aliens were powerful, but they were not unstoppable. On Earth, factories worked around the clock to build more weapons and ships. Retired military officers came back to duty. Civilian pilots volunteered for dangerous missions. Scientists worked on new ways to fight the invaders. General Chris Parker coordinated the global defense effort from a command center deep underground. He had fought in several Earth wars, but nothing had prepared him for a battle against aliens. "How are we doing?" he asked Dr. Nancy Thompson, who was leading the effort to reverse engineer alien technology. "Better than expected," Nancy replied. "We're learning how their systems work. Their computers use quantum processing that's much faster than ours, but it's also more fragile. A focused electromagnetic pulse can shut down their entire weapons grid." This discovery led to the development of new weapons designed specifically to fight alien technology. Human engineers began building EMP bombs that could disable alien ships without destroying them completely. War Commander Gulthek looked at the battle reports and felt something he had never experienced before: doubt. His fleet had been fighting The humans for 3 days and they were still nowhere near Earth? The humans had destroyed or damaged over 30 alien ships, while their own losses were much smaller than expected. These creatures are not like the others we have conquered, he told his staff. They adapt quickly. They learn from every battle. They use their weaknesses as strengths. The Galactic Council had expected an easy victory over a primitive species. Instead, they were getting their first real taste of human determination and ingenuity. The battle for Earth was far from over, and the aliens were beginning to realize they might have made a terrible mistake. As the human defenders prepared for the next phase of the battle, they carried with them something the aliens did not understand: the absolute refusal to surrender their homeworld without the fight of their lives. On the crystal station floating between the stars, emergency meetings had been called for 3 days straight. The Galactic Council members sat around their table of light. But the mood was very different from when they had first decided to attack. Earth. Council leader Zixthara looked at the reports coming from the battle zone. The numbers made no sense to her. The humans were supposed to be destroyed by now. Their primitive technology should have failed against the mighty Korthai fleet. Instead, alien ships were being damaged or destroyed almost daily. How is this possible? She asked the council members. War Commander Gulthek promised us victory in 3 days. It has been 6 days and his fleet has not even reached Earth yet. Kuthmara, the crystal being, made sounds like breaking glass, a sign of distress among her people. The reports say that humans fight in ways we have never seen before. They do not follow proper battle formations. They use civilian ships as weapons. They attack from hiding places among the asteroids. The creature covered in thick fur, representing the Gorlan Republic, slammed his paw on the table. This is impossible. No young species has ever resisted a council cleansing operation. The Korthai have conquered 1,000 worlds, but the facts could not be ignored. Alien ships were being destroyed by human weapons that should not have been able to penetrate their defenses. Human tactics were confusing the most advanced military computers in the galaxy. Worst of all, the humans seemed to be getting stronger with each battle instead of weaker. A new member spoke up, Vithler, who represented the scientific caste of the Velthari Empire. His species had studied warfare for millions of years, and he had been analyzing the battle reports carefully. I have studied these humans extensively, Vithler said. They possess several characteristics that make them uniquely dangerous. First, they adapt their technology faster than any species we have encountered. Second, they coordinate their actions without relying on central command structures. Third, they seem to become more determined when faced with superior force. Zixthara did not want to hear this. They are a primitive species. They have only had space travel for 100 years. They cannot be more dangerous than races that have existed for thousands of years. That may be exactly why they are dangerous, Vithler replied. Older species follow established patterns. We fight the way we have always fought, but humans have no established patterns. They create new tactics during battle. They use weapons in ways we never expected. Back in the solar system, War Commander, Gulthek was learning this lesson the hard way. His fleet had finally reached Earth's orbital space, but the battle was not going as planned. The humans had turned the space around their planet into a maze of defense platforms, orbited Earth at different levels, some close to the planet and others far out near the moon. But these were not the fixed targets Gulthek had expected. The platforms could move, change position, and work together in complex patterns. Colonel Mike Torres stood on the bridge of Defense Platform Alpha, the largest of Earth's orbital fortresses. He was a Marine who had volunteered to command the platform when the regular Navy officers were needed elsewhere. Alien dreadnought approaching from Sector 7, reported his tactical officer. It's trying to get close enough for a direct assault. On the platform, Mike looked at the tactical display. The alien ship was huge and heavily armed, but it was also predictable. Fire control. Target their weapon systems with everything we have. Helm, prepare for emergency acceleration. The defense platform fired a massive barrage of missiles and railgun rounds at the approaching alien ship. At the same time, the platform's engines ignited, and it began moving away from the enemy vessel at high speed. The aliens had expected the human platform to stay in one place like a traditional space fortress. When it suddenly started moving like a ship, their targeting computers became confused. Most of their return fire missed completely. Dr. Amy Watson watched the battle from her laboratory and continued to study captured alien technology. Each piece of equipment told her more about how the aliens thought and fought. "They're incredibly advanced," she told her research team, "but they're also incredibly rigid. Look at this weapon system. It has 17 different settings, but they're all designed to fight energy-shielded targets. They never considered that someone might use kinetic weapons." Dr. Nancy Thompson was working on the opposite problem: how to make human technology more effective against alien defenses. She had been studying alien shield systems and had made an important breakthrough. "Their shields pulse in a regular pattern," she explained to General Chris Parker. "They're strongest for 2 seconds, then they drop to minimum power for half a second while they recharge. If we time our attacks correctly, we can hit them when their shields are weakest." This discovery led to new coordination protocols for human forces. Ships began timing their attacks to hit alien vessels during the brief moments when their shields were recharging. The effect was dramatic. Human weapons suddenly became much more effective. Captain Helen Brooks continued to pilot the stealth ship USS Ghost deep into enemy formations. Her ship's cloaking device allowed her to move among the alien vessels without being detected, gathering intelligence that proved crucial to the human defense. "Admiral Morrison, this is Ghost," she transmitted during one mission. "I'm seeing something interesting in the alien fleet formation. Their command ships stay in the center, protected by the larger vessels, but they're also transmitting constantly to coordinate their forces. Can you identify the command frequency?" Admiral Morrison asked. "Already working on it," Helen replied. "Dr. Thompson's team should be able to create a jamming signal that will disrupt their coordination." The information Helen gathered led to one of the most successful human attacks of the war. While the main battle raged around Earth's defense platforms, a small group of human ships penetrated the alien formation and attacked their command vessels. The aliens suddenly found themselves unable to coordinate their attacks. Ship commanders who had relied on constant communication from their headquarters were forced to make decisions on their own, something they were not trained to do. Sam Rodriguez led his squadron of converted cargo ships in a daring attack on one of the alien command vessels. His ship, the Freedom Star, had been a grain transport before the war. Now it carried enough firepower to threaten even the largest alien ships. "This is for everyone back on Earth," Sam said as he fired everything his ship had at the alien command vessel. The combination of missiles, railgun rounds, and plasma torpedoes overwhelmed the enemy ship's defenses and sent it drifting powerless through space on the Galactic Council station. The mood was becoming desperate. Reports from the Earth battle zone showed that the human resistance was not weakening, it was getting stronger. More troubling were reports from other parts of the galaxy where Council authority was being questioned. 3 member species have asked for emergency sessions to discuss the Earth operation, reported the Council's chief administrator. "They want to know why a cleansing operation is taking so long and costing so many ships." Zixthara felt her authority slipping away. The Council had maintained order in the galaxy for thousands of years by demonstrating overwhelming power. If they could not defeat a single young species, other races might begin to rebel. "Send a message to War Commander Gulthak," she ordered. "Tell him that failure is not acceptable. He must destroy the humans quickly, whatever the cost." But Gulthak was beginning to understand that this battle could not be won with traditional tactics. The humans were forcing him to fight a type of war that the Korthai had never experienced before. Every time he thought he understood human strategy, they would do something completely unexpected. As the battle entered its second week, both sides were learning hard lessons. The aliens discovered that superior technology meant nothing if it was used predictably. The humans learned that courage and ingenuity could overcome almost any disadvantage, but the biggest lesson was still to come. The Galactic Council was about to learn what happened when they underestimated the determination of an entire species fighting for its survival. The battle for Earth had reached its most dangerous phase. Massive alien dreadnoughts now filled the space around the planet, their hulls glowing with weapon energy as they tried to break through the human defense lines. The largest of these ships was 3 kilometers long and carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Colonel Mike Torres watched from his marine transport as the alien dreadnought Void Render approached. Defense Platform Beta, the platform was one of humanity's newest orbital fortresses, armed with the most advanced weapons Earth could build. But it looked tiny compared to the alien monster bearing down on it. "All Marines, prepare for boarding action," Mike announced to his troops. They were about to attempt something that no other species had ever tried, boarding an alien warship. While it was still fighting, the human strategy was born from desperation and audacity in equal measure. Traditional space battles involved ships firing at each other from long distances until one side retreated or was destroyed. But humans had discovered that alien ships were vulnerable to close quarters combat because their crews had never experienced it. Mike's transport, the Semper Fi, accelerated toward the Void Render at maximum speed. The ship was designed to look like a piece of battle debris, twisted metal and scattered components that would not attract attention from alien sensors. 60 seconds to contact, called the pilot. Enemy ship is not changing course. They think. We're wreckage from the last battle. Inside the transport, 40 Marines checked their weapons and equipment. They wore powered armor that could operate in the vacuum of space, and they carried weapons designed to work in zero gravity. Most importantly, they carried shape charges that could cut through alien hull metal. The transport's magnetic grapples locked onto the alien ship's hull with a soft clang that vibrated through the metal. Mike activated his suit's cutting torch and began burning a hole in the alien ship's armor plating. "Hull breach in 30 seconds, he reported to Admiral Morrison. "Ghost team is going in." The aliens had never experienced boarding actions because their battles were always fought at long range with energy weapons. When human Marines suddenly appeared inside their ship, the crew did not know how to respond. Mike led his Marines through corridors that were designed for creatures much larger than humans. The alien crew members they encountered wore no armor and carried no personal weapons. They had been trained to operate ship systems, not to fight hand-to-hand combat. "Secure the bridge," Mike ordered his teams. "And remember, we need prisoners alive for interrogation." The alien bridge was a vast chamber filled with holographic displays and control stations that hummed with energy. The ship's captain was a massive creature covered in scales, standing nearly 3 meters tall. When he saw the human Marines, he made sounds of fear and confusion. "Surrender your ship," Mike told the alien captain through his suit's translator. "Order your crew to stop fighting and no one will be hurt." The alien captain looked at the small humans in their powered armor. He had never imagined that such tiny creatures could threaten a ship as powerful as the Void Render. But the evidence was right in front of him. His crew was already surrendering to the human boarding parties, while Mike's Marines captured the alien dreadnought. Another drama was unfolding in Earth's research laboratories. Professor Kate Miller had been working around the clock to decode alien communications, and she had finally broken through their encryption systems. What she discovered changed everything the humans thought they knew about the war. "Admiral Morrison, you need to hear this," Kate said over the emergency communication channel. "I've been listening to alien command frequencies. This isn't just a random attack. There's something called the Galactic Council, and they've done this before." Kate played recordings of alien communications that her computers had translated into English. The voices were cold and mechanical, discussing the destruction of Earth as if it was a routine administrative task. "They've destroyed dozens of other species," Kate continued. "Any race that grows too fast or develops technology too quickly gets marked for cleansing. They think they're protecting galactic stability by preventing young species from becoming threats." Admiral Morrison felt anger burning in his chest as he listened to the recordings. The aliens were not just trying to conquer Earth, they were trying to commit genocide against the entire human race, and they had done it many times before. How many species have they destroyed? He asked. At least 40 that I can identify from these communications, Kate replied. Maybe more. They've been doing this for thousands of years. This information spread quickly through the human fleet, and it changed the nature of the battle. The soldiers and pilots were no longer just defending their homeworld. They were fighting to prevent the extinction of their entire species. Captain Tony Williams was humanity's best fighter pilot, flying an experimental ship called the Starhawk. The vessel was built using a combination of human engineering and captured alien technology, making it faster and more maneuverable than anything else in space. All fighter squadrons, this is Tony, he broadcast to the human pilots. We just learned that these aliens have murdered entire civilizations. They think they can do the same to us. Let's show them how wrong they are. Tony's squadron attacked a formation of alien cruisers that were trying to break through Earth's defense perimeter. The human fighters moved like a school of fish, coordinating their attacks without needing constant radio communication. The aliens had powerful weapons and strong shields, but they could not hit targets that moved in such unpredictable patterns. Tony's fighters darted between the alien ships, firing missiles and railgun rounds from impossible angles. Splash one enemy cruiser, Tony reported as an alien ship exploded in a ball of fire and metal. That's for the Andorians. Splash 2, that's for the Kepler colony species. Splash 3, that's for every race you murdered. Dr. Amy Watson continued studying captured alien equipment in her laboratory, and her latest discovery was the most important yet. She had found data files in the alien computers that contained detailed information about every species the Galactic Council had destroyed. Look at this, she told her research team. The aliens keep records of every cleansing operation they've conducted. Technical specifications, battle reports, even cultural studies of the species they destroyed. The data showed that the Galactic Council followed the same pattern every time. They would identify a young species that was developing too quickly, send a massive fleet to destroy them, and then record the operation for their historical archives. But Amy noticed something else in the data, something that filled her with hope. They've never failed before, she said. Every single cleansing operation has been successful. The aliens win, the young species gets destroyed, and the galaxy remains stable under Council rule. How is that good news? Asked one of her assistants. Amy smiled for the first time in days. Because it means they don't know how to deal with failure. They've never had to adapt their tactics or change their strategy. They've been winning for so long that they've forgotten how to learn from defeats. This insight proved crucial as the battle continued. The aliens kept using the same tactics even when they stopped working. They would send their largest ships against human defense platforms even after learning that the platforms could move and fight back. They would attack in formation even when human forces scattered and regrouped in unpredictable ways. Admiral Morrison realized that humanity's greatest advantage was not their technology or their weapons. It was their ability to learn and adapt. During combat, every battle taught them something new about how to fight the aliens more effectively. All units, this is Morrison, he broadcast to the entire human fleet. We're going to try something that has never been done before. We're going to take this fight to the enemy. The Admiral's plan was audacious beyond belief. Instead of waiting for the aliens to attack Earth's defenses, the human fleet would launch a coordinated assault on the alien command ships. They would use every lesson they had learned about alien weaknesses and turn the space around Earth into a trap. War Commander Gulathak received reports of unusual human fleet movements and assumed they were retreating to form a final defensive line around their planet. He could not imagine that such a small force would dare to attack his massive fleet directly. He was about to learn another lesson about human unpredictability. The species that had never been conquered was preparing to show the galaxy what happened. When someone threatened their homeworld, the battle for Earth was entering its final phase. and humanity was ready to prove that some fights are worth any cost. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been called at the request of 6 member species. For the first time in over 1,000 years, the Council's absolute authority was being questioned. The great crystal chamber buzzed with tension. As representatives from across the galaxy demanded answers, Zixthara stood before the assembled council members, but her usual confidence was gone. The reports from the Earth battle zone told an impossible story. A primitive human fleet was not only holding its own against the mighty Korthai, but actually winning battles. Explain to us how a species with barely 100 years of space travel is destroying our most advanced warships, demanded Krelthin, the representative of the Nexer Dominion. His insect-like features clicked with anger as he spoke. The humans are using primitive tactics, Zixthara replied, trying to maintain her authority. They fight without honor, using asteroid fields and debris as weapons. War Commander Gulithek will adapt to their crude methods. But Vithler, the Velthari scientist, had been studying the battle reports more carefully than anyone else. What he had discovered challenged everything the Council believed about galactic warfare. The humans are not primitive, he said, his voice cutting through the chamber like ice. They are evolutionary. Every battle teaches them something new. They modify their tactics faster than our computers can predict. They coordinate without central command structures. They adapt their technology in real time. The crystal being. Kathmara made sounds of distress. This cannot be true. No species develops combat effectiveness so quickly. It violates every model of military evolution we have studied. Vithler activated a holographic display that showed human battle formations from the first day of fighting compared to their current tactics. The difference was remarkable. What had started as desperate defensive actions had evolved into sophisticated military strategies. Look at this data, he said. On day 1, humans used converted civilian ships in uncoordinated attacks. By day 7, they were conducting complex multi-vector assaults with perfect timing. By day 10, they were boarding our ships and capturing them intact. A heavy silence fell over the chamber. The Galactic Council had maintained order for millennia by demonstrating overwhelming force against any potential threat. If they could not defeat a single young species, their entire system of control would collapse. What do you recommend? Zixthara asked, though she dreaded the answer. Immediate withdrawal, Vithler replied without hesitation. The humans have proven they cannot be easily conquered. Continuing this operation will only result in more losses and further damage to Council authority. But War Commander Gulithek was not ready to admit defeat. His pride and his reputation were tied to the success of this mission. He had promised the Council a quick victory, and he intended to deliver it regardless of the cost. Send me the Void Hunters, he transmitted to the Council station. If conventional forces cannot break human resistance, we will use our elite units. The Void Hunters were the Council's most feared warriors, cybernetically enhanced soldiers, who had never lost a battle. They piloted ships that could phase in and out of normal space, making them nearly impossible to detect or attack. Zixthara authorized the deployment, even though part of her suspected it might be a mistake. The Council could not afford to appear weak in front of the other galactic species. Too much depended on maintaining the image of invincible authority. Back in Earth orbit, Admiral Morrison was coordinating the most ambitious operation in human history. Every available ship had been gathered into a single massive fleet. Military vessels, converted civilian craft, captured alien ships, and experimental prototypes that had never been tested in combat. Operation Prometheus is go, he announced to the fleet commanders. Remember, we're not just fighting for Earth anymore. We're fighting for every species the Council has murdered, and every species they plan to murder in the future. The human fleet began moving toward the alien formation in a pattern that confused every tactical computer in Gulthek's command center. Instead of approaching in standard battle formation, the human ships spread out across a vast area of space, creating what looked like random chaos. Commander Steve Johnson, led one wing of the human fleet in a captured alien cruiser that his engineers had modified with human weapons and tactics. The ship still looked alien from the outside, but its crew was entirely human. "Prometheus Wing is in position," Steve reported. "We're reading massive energy signatures from the enemy fleet. They're charging weapons for a full-scale bombardment." But Admiral Morrison had expected this. The scattered human formation was designed to make the aliens concentrate their firepower on empty space, while human ships attacked from unexpected directions. Maria Santos piloted one of the most unusual vessels in the human fleet, a hybrid ship that combined alien engines with human weapons and crew. She was a former test pilot who had volunteered to fly experimental craft that other pilots considered too dangerous. "Hybrid. Squadron ready for Phase 2, Maria transmitted. "All ships report green status on alien propulsion systems." The battle began when Gulthak ordered his fleet to destroy what he thought was the main human formation. Massive energy beams lanced through space, striking the positions where his computers predicted the human ships would be. But the humans were not where the aliens expected them to be. Instead, human ships appeared behind and beside the alien formation. Using the asteroids and space debris as cover for their approach, the aliens found themselves under attack from directions their sensors had not been watching. Dr. Amy Watson's discovery about alien shield patterns proved crucial during this phase of the battle. Human ships timed their attacks to hit during the brief moments when alien defenses were recharging, causing devastating damage to ships that should have been nearly invulnerable. Captain Ben Clark commanded a task force of destroyers that had been equipped with quantum torpedoes, weapons reverse engineered from alien technology but modified with human innovation. The torpedoes could phase through matter for several seconds before becoming solid again, allowing them to pass through alien shields and detonate inside enemy ships. "Target locked on enemy battleship designation Alpha 7, Ben announced, firing quantum torpedo spread. The torpedoes passed through the alien ship's hull like ghosts, then materialized inside the vessel's reactor chamber. The explosion that followed tore the massive ship apart from the inside. On the council station, emergency alerts flooded the communication channels as reports arrived of human ships using impossible weapons and tactics. The most disturbing reports came from Gulthak himself. "The humans are using our own technology against us," he transmitted. "But they have modified it in ways our scientists never considered. Their weapons phase through solid matter. Their ships coordinate using quantum entanglement. They fight like they have been studying our weaknesses for years instead of days." Vithler analyzed each report as it arrived, and his conclusions became more alarming with each battle. "The humans are not just adapting to our technology," he told the council. "They are improving it. Their reverse engineering capabilities exceed anything we have encountered." The truth was even more remarkable than the aliens realized. Human engineers and scientists were not just copying alien technology. They were understanding the principles behind it and then finding ways to make it work better. Dr. Nancy Thompson had teams working around the clock to modify captured alien equipment. "Their quantum processors are incredibly powerful," she explained to her staff, "but they're also incredibly conservative. They follow programmed patterns without variation. We can reprogram them to be more flexible and responsive." The modified alien technology in human hands became something entirely new. Weapons that could adapt to different targets, shields that could redistribute power automatically, and engines that could change their output based on tactical requirements. As the battle continued, War Commander Gulthak realized that his fleet was not just losing, it was being systematically dismantled by an enemy that learned something new from every engagement. The humans were turning the space around Earth into a graveyard of alien ships. For the first time in his military career, Gulthak considered the possibility of retreat. But he knew that returning to the Council in defeat would mean the end of his command and possibly his life. The Korthai did not forgive failure. The Galactic Council watched in growing horror as their most powerful fleet was beaten by a species they had dismissed as primitive. The implications went far beyond this single battle, if the humans could Defeat the Council's forces. Other species might begin to rebel against Council authority. Zixthara made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. Rather than risk further losses, she sent a coded message to Gulfek ordering him to withdraw from Earth space and regroup for a second attempt, but the humans were not finished with their surprises. They had captured enough alien ships and technology to turn the tide of battle, and they intended to use every advantage they had gained. The species that had started this war as underdogs was about to become the hunter instead of the hunted. 6 months after the failed invasion of Earth, the galaxy was a very different place. News of humanity's victory had spread through underground channels to every inhabited world, carried by traders, refugees, and dissidents who had long opposed. Council rule on the crystal station that served as the Galactic Council's headquarters. An emergency session was in progress. But this was not like the previous meetings during the Earth crisis. This time, the Council faced something they had never encountered before: open rebellion from multiple member species. The chamber buzzed with angry voices as representatives demanded explanations. Zixthara no longer sat at the head of the Council table. She had been removed from power by a vote of no confidence. The first time in Council history that a leader had been overthrown by a democratic process. "The humans have made contact with the Kepler survivors," announced Krelthan of the Nexor Dominion. "The species we thought we had completely destroyed 40 years ago. They've been hiding in the Outer Rim, and now they're building ships again." The new council leader, Vithler, studied the reports with growing alarm. The humans had not been content to simply defend their own world. They had reached out to other species that had survived council cleansing operations, offering them protection and alliance. "How many species have joined this human alliance?" Vithler asked. 17 confirmed, replied the Council's intelligence coordinator. "The humans are calling it the Free Species Coalition. They're sharing their hybrid technology with anyone who opposes Council authority." But the rebellion went deeper than just military alliance. The humans had done something that shocked the galaxy's established powers. They had made their technology freely available to anyone who wanted it. The advanced hybrid systems that combined human innovation with alien science were being distributed to oppressed species throughout the galaxy. Dr. Amy Watson stood before the United Nations Assembly on Earth, delivering a speech that was being broadcast to human colonies and allied species across known space. "We have learned that we are not alone in the galaxy," she said. "But we have also learned that we are not the first species to face extinction at the hands of the Galactic Council. For thousands of years, they have maintained order through fear and genocide. Today, that ends." The speech was translated into dozens of alien languages and transmitted through quantum communication networks that the Council could not monitor or control. For the first time, species across the galaxy were hearing a message of hope instead of submission. Admiral Morrison commanded the largest fleet in human history as it traveled toward the first human diplomatic mission to an alien world. The fleet included captured council ships, hybrid vessels built with combined human-alien technology, and pure human designs that had been upgraded with everything learned from the war. "Approaching the Altair system," reported the navigation officer. "The Zephyrian government has confirmed they want to meet with our delegation." The Zephyrians were one of the Council's oldest member species, but recent intelligence suggested that their loyalty was wavering. They had sent secret messages to Earth requesting a diplomatic meeting, something that would have been unthinkable before humanity's victory. Ambassador Julia Martinez had been chosen to lead humanity's first formal diplomatic mission to an alien government. She was a career diplomat who had spent years preparing for the possibility of first contact, but nothing had prepared her for the reality of representing humanity to a galaxy in upheaval. "Remember," Admiral Morrison told her before she departed, "for the Zephyrian homeworld, we're not just representing Earth anymore. We're representing the idea that young species have the right to exist and grow without Council interference." The meeting took place on Zephyr Prime, a world that had been under Council protection for over 2,000 years. The Zephyrian leaders were elegant beings who looked like living crystal formations. and they had requested this meeting in secret to avoid council retaliation. "We have watched your species with great interest," said High Counselor Thelanon, the leader of the Zephyrian government. "In 6 months you have accomplished what we thought impossible. You have proven that the council can be defeated." Julia listened carefully as the Zephyrian explained their situation. Their species had joined the council centuries ago, seeking protection from aggressive neighbors. But over time, they had discovered that council membership meant giving up their independence and following orders without question. "We want to leave the council," Thelanon continued, "but we fear the consequences. No species has ever successfully withdrawn from council membership. Those who have tried have been subjected to economic sanctions, military pressure, or worse." "That's because no one has ever had an alternative," Julia replied. "We're offering something the galaxy has never seen before, a voluntary alliance, based on mutual benefit rather than forced submission." The negotiations that followed established the framework for what would become known as the Galactic Liberation. Species after species began reaching out to the human alliance, seeking protection from council retaliation and access to the hybrid technologies that were revolutionizing space travel and communication. Captain Tony Williams led the first joint human-alien patrol squadron, comprising ships from 5 different species that had joined the Free Species Coalition. Their mission was to protect trade routes and refugee ships from council enforcement fleets. "This is Coalition Squadron Alpha," Tony transmitted as his mixed fleet approached a refugee convoy fleeing council space. "We're here to escort you to free territory. The galaxy has changed, and you don't have to run anymore." The refugee convoy included survivors from 3 different species that the council had marked for cleansing. Some had been hiding for decades, living in the forgotten corners of the galaxy while the council hunted them. "Coalition ships, this is refugee convoy leader Gulfic," came the reply. "We cannot believe this is real. For 40 years we have hidden from council fleets. Now you tell us we can live in freedom? Welcome to the new galaxy," Tony replied. "The council's authority ends here." Back on Earth, the transformation was equally dramatic. Human society had been changed by contact with galactic civilization, but not in the way anyone had expected. Instead of becoming junior members of an established order, humans had become the leaders of a revolution. Dr. Nancy Thompson's research facilities were now working with scientists from dozens of species, combining their knowledge to create technologies that no single race could have developed alone. The hybrid quantum computers that had given humanity its edge in battle were now being used to solve problems across the galaxy. "We're seeing innovations every day that would have taken centuries to develop using traditional research methods," Nancy explained to a gathering of human and alien scientists. "When you combine human creativity with Zephyrian quantum mechanics and Altarian energy systems, the possibilities are endless." The Free Species Coalition grew rapidly as more and more civilizations chose freedom over council authority. But the council was not prepared to give up without a fight. Vithler stood before the remaining council members, his voice heavy with the weight of lost authority. "The humans have destroyed everything we built over millennia. Half our member species have left the council. Our military fleets refuse to follow orders. Our authority means nothing." But even as the council's power crumbled, new possibilities emerged. Some of the more moderate council species began reaching out to the coalition, seeking a middle path between the old authoritarianism and the new freedom. The Crystalline Collective, represented by Cathmara, became the first council species to officially withdraw and join the coalition. Their announcement sent shockwaves through the galaxy. "We joined the council seeking order and stability," Cathmara announced. "But we have learned that true stability comes from voluntary cooperation, not forced submission. The humans have shown us a better way." As the first year after the Earth invasion drew to a close, humanity found itself in a position no young species had ever occupied. They were not subjects of a galactic empire or junior members of an established order. They were the founders of a new type of galactic civilization based on freedom, cooperation and mutual respect. Admiral Morrison stood on the observation deck of the Coalition's new headquarters station, built in the neutral space between Earth and the first Allied worlds. Through the transparent aluminum windows, he could see ships from dozens of species working together, trading, exploring, and building a future that none of them could have achieved alone. Ambassador Julia Martinez joined him at the window. "The Council is requesting formal negotiations," she told him. "They want to discuss terms for a peaceful transition to the new galactic order."